some news coming out of Tennessee and Josh Heupel's press conference yesterday. A ton of visitors as well, as recruiting never stops. And this will be a big, big weekend for Tennessee, as you might imagine. So there's a lot going on. The Down and Dirty at 30 is brought to you by Honeybee Coffee. Amanda, it's pretty simple. It's just good coffee.
I mean, it really is. It's just really, really good coffee. And I didn't have the forethought, is that correct way to say that? I didn't have the forethought to bring it with me because there's a Keurig here and I don't have those little cups where you can put it in. So I didn't bring it, but still really good coffee. My coffee is probably going to go cold.
Oh, okay. Well, it is fantastic coffee. So they've got locations in Knoxville, but be sure and go to their e-commerce store and you can order online. You can grind it yourself if you would like to, and you can just have fantastic coffee. It's awesome. Good morning, Brittany. How are you? Crazy saying, is there a game? I hadn't heard. Yeah, I think there is a game tomorrow. Again, I say the most highly, there's a little something going on. The most highly anticipated game, I believe, since 1997, Peyton Manning. So let's look at a couple of things, and let's start with Peyton Manning. He will be the guest picker for ESPN. Your thoughts initially, Amanda, on Peyton Manning? This was announced last night. It was on our Twitter page. What are your thoughts on Peyton Manning being the guest picker? We talked about the possible Peyton Manning curse and all that stuff, which I think is silly, but your thoughts.
So my thoughts on this is as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh no, Tennessee fans are going to lose it because it's going to be the Peyton Manning curse and they're going to be upset and everything else. Well, this is the game in their schedule that they're most likely to lose. This is, I mean, if you're going to say there's a game, Tennessee's going to play that they're most likely to lose, it's going to be against Alabama just because of how great Alabama's been and they're undefeated and yada, yada, yada. So if they do, in fact, lose, they're going to blame this on Peyton Manning again. It's just going to be blamed on Peyton Manning.
That's exactly what I thought. And you're right. I mean, I love the fact that you're bringing Peyton Manning back for an Alabama game instead of Florida, obviously. He was able to break a streak against Alabama and in dramatic fashion, and they went on to win, I believe, 7 in a row after Peyton Manning arrived on campus. So I love the fact that you're bringing him back for Alabama, Amanda. But this whole Peyton Manning curse, I want to bring Caleb Calhoun in on this as well. Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports. You can check his work out. And let's start with you, Caleb. This whole Peyton Manning curse to me is pretty silly, but Amanda's right. It's going to be reinforced if Tennessee loses a game that they're a touchdown underdog to Alabama. If they lose, people are going to say the Peyton Manning curse, which is absolutely silly in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really think there's any curse. The 3 distinct times I remember Peyton Manning attending a football game, and there's been more, but the 3 that stand out it was 2005 when his number was retired against South Carolina. That was a Tennessee team that was unraveling with or without Peyton Manning in the stands. I mean, this is a team that lost to Vanderbilt at home that year, and not a good Vanderbilt team, although they did have Jay Cutler. The other one was 2017 when he was honored for going into the College Football Hall of Fame. It was at home against Georgia. That Georgia team went to the national title, and that's the worst team in Tennessee history. They lost 41-0. And then I remember 2008, he was at that Tennessee-Auburn game, which might have been the worst college football game ever played in the SEC. That Auburn won 14-12 because it was 2 of the worst offenses of all time going against each other in that game. So I agree. This whole curse, I'm like, the only time Peyton Manning was in attendance that I can think that was like an upset loss was Tennessee baseball in the College World, but missing a chance to go to the College World Series earlier this year. But again, that's baseball, and I can make the case that I was at a Tennessee basketball game one time where Tennessee beat eventual national champion Florida Gators, and Peyton Manning was in attendance there. So I don't think this curse is real.
No, and you would struggle to find anybody who had more success against Alabama than Peyton Manning. And Peyton is a beloved son at Tennessee, and he should be. And if you want to hold the fact that he didn't beat Florida against him, you can. But he did win an SEC championship, and who wouldn't trade that right now? I mean, I think people want great things, Amanda, out of Nico Iamaleava, but if he had the exact same career as Peyton Manning without beating Florida, but winning an SEC championship and beating Alabama on a regular basis, wouldn't you take that right now?
I think Tennessee fans would take that right now, but
They
I think
should.
the whole not beating Florida thing will put a damper on that. I mean, I think Tennessee is to the point where you have to beat Florida in order for them to be happy at all. You just have to.
Right. And I don't think Florida is going to be Florida. I mean, that was a once in a generational type of coach in Steve Spurrier. There have been two of those in my lifetime, and it's Steve Spurrier and Nick Saban. Caleb, a couple of MIAs, or maybe not, that we'll see. All that I hear is that Bryce Young will play, at least try. We'll see how long he goes. Josh Heupel said yesterday, preparing for two quarterbacks is something they will have to do. Gerald Mincey at left tackle. Don't really have an idea of whether or not he's going to play. Josh Heupel plays in a nice way. Injuries as close to the vest as anybody. Cedric Tillman, it was reported by WBR that he won't play, and WBR did have that report correct for the LSU game. And they have reported that Jaylen McCollough had been at practice, but Josh Heupel didn't confirm that in his press conference yesterday. He just said, I'm not going to go there. So he doesn't need to. Now, that makes me think that Jaylen McCollough might play, because I can remember a somewhat similar incident in which there was a bunch of gray area, and it was the infamous Nukees Richardson and what they did when they decided it would be a good time to rob a pilot store, and they realized they only got a hamburger out of it. Well, there was another player whose name escapes me that was the peacemaker in this. And I know that Lane Kiffin at the time thought that he should play. Now, he ended up not playing. You might be able to help me with the name. It was a backup. It was a defensive back. I don't know that he was a backup at the time, but he was kind of emerging on the scene. He was supposed to be the peacemaker. Now, so again,
Was that Jameson Jackson?
No, it wasn't Jackson. Jackson was with 3. It was a really
Mike Edwards.
Mike Edwards. Yes, it was
Okay.
Mike Edwards. He was supposedly the peacemaker in that. So they wanted to play Mike Edwards. Now, there was so much pressure not to play him. I don't think he ended up playing in that game. But this feels like that. This feels like a situation in which there is a big gray area. Jaylen McCollough comes out of the dorm room, the apartment, and he punches a guy. What was said, I don't know, but it just feels like that to me. Whereas if you would have asked me yesterday, Caleb, I would have said, no way he's going to play. He's definitely suspended. I even heard one national podcaster host that's on Rick Neuheisel that said that he might be kicked completely off the team. So I don't think that's going to happen. We would have heard about that by now. Josh Heupel would have made a clean cut, but does Jaylen McCollough play tomorrow? I don't know. Caleb, your thoughts? And if so, what kind of an impact can he have in a beleaguered secondary?
Yeah, I can't speculate at all whether or not he's going to play tomorrow. I can say that it's not so much the impact Jaylen McCollough will have as much as it is the impact him not playing will have. Because, again, I think that I've said this all week, Tennessee secondary is below average, but there were some players that are mediocre at least, and I would put Jaylen McCollough in the mediocre range.